you tell me your name, please?
Okay. My name's Margaret Pan. I'm an astronomer, and I study planets. All kinds of things about planets. So how they're formed, how they move, how they interact with one another. When I was in school, I studied physics and astrophysics. And so I was an undergraduate in physics and in planetary science, and then my graduate degree is in astrophysics. So I've worked on planets in our solar system and planets outside our solar system. One thing I've been doing recently is concerning an asteroid in our solar system, which they recently found rings around. So it's the first object that's not a giant planet that anyone has ever found rings around. So there are a lot of questions. How did the rings get there? Why are they still there? How come they haven't left? And in particular, this is a special asteroid. So most of the asteroids are in particular places in the solar system, but this one is kind of running around among the giant planets and interacting with them. So one of the questions is, if you're having these interactions with the giant planets all the time, how can the rings still stay there? Why haven't they been disrupted or dispersed? So I've been thinking about how the rings got there. Well, I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to be like a literature major or like a history major or economics or languages or something like that. I was pretty sure I was going to end up being a scientist or an engineer, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to study. One thing I enjoy doing outside astronomy is playing the carillon. My first job out of school, I happened to live down the hill from a carillon. I didn't know it was there. I moved there for the job, and but it was kind of a small place. So every time I wanted to go anywhere, I had to pass the carillon. So one day I passed it and I heard it playing, and I kind of thought, what is that? And so there was a little sign on the door that said, there's a carillon here. If you want to see it, show up at this time. It was like, I think, 12:50 p.m. on Sundays. Okay, so the next Sunday at 12:50 p.m. I showed up, and they took me up the tower and they showed it to me, and they showed me all the practice instrument, which is where you learn pieces. And they said, well, you can come back if you want. And so I did. And there weren't too many of them. I think there were only about 3 people playing at that time. So I just joined them. It was really a coincidence. When you play the carillon, you're not actually moving the bells themselves. The bells themselves are fixed to a frame in the tower, and which is a good thing, because some of those bells are here, at least some of those bells are 10, 11 tons. What's actually happening is that you're pushing the clappers. So the clappers are mounted inside the bell, just maybe an inch away from the surface of the bell. So when you push a key or a pedal, that just pulls the clapper over and so that it can touch the bell, and that's the whole thing. It's in some ways very similar to the original mechanism, which was invented in the 1500s. So the carillon developed in the Low Countries of Europe. So we're talking Belgium, the Netherlands, northern France. It's a place where there was not in the Middle Ages and the early Renaissance. There wasn't a strong central government in those places. They changed hands between kingdoms a lot. So what you had instead was strong cities. And each city would have a bell, normally, to tell people, to announce things to people, basically. Like, okay, curfew is now, or noon is now, or things like that. And eventually it got so they would strike the hour. And so in order to tell people, okay, the hour is going to strike, some of the bigger towns would start having a few small bells that would ring shortly before that. You should start counting the number of strikes now so that you know what time it is. And as time went on, those few bells at the beginning became larger and larger collections of bells. And it got so that there's so many that you could set up a keyboard and have them play by hand by a person. And so those were the first carillons. I think the thing I like most about playing the carillon is definitely the sound, just the sound quality. I really like it. The other thing I enjoy about playing the carillon a lot is that it's endless variety. So all carillons are different. Every time you go to a new one, it's set up differently. The tower may be taller or shorter. The instrument may be heavier or lighter. It really depends on the environment and just whatever building they decided to put it in. So it's really interesting to try different ones and to see what works on different instruments. I think, to me, the similarity between doing science research and learning music is just in the process. So I don't think most people think about it this way, actually. But if I want to do a project in astronomy, what I do is I say, oh, that's an interesting object, or that's an interesting phenomenon. And then I try to learn everything I can about it. I think about it, I read about it, whatever I can do. And then when I think I've understood something new about it, then I'll write a paper or give a talk and explain it to other people. And when I learn pieces, it's the same way. So I'll think, oh, that's a nice piece. I want to play that. And then I'll study it, and I'll learn the notes, and then try to have some understanding of where the piece is going. Like what's the phrasing? What did the composer want, actually? And then when I think I've understood something, then I can play it for someone else and try to explain my idea about it. Playing the carillon helped get rid of a lot of my stage fright. So when I was a kid, I played the piano, and I had terrible stage fright. I really didn't like performing. But when you play the carillon, just to learn a piece, every time you want to practice, more or less, it's a performance. It's, whatever state your piece is in, that's the state it's in. That doesn't mean it can't get better, but you just have to be comfortable with what you're doing. So I think most instruments aren't like that you automatically, everything is, in a way it's very public, but in a way no one sees you, so it's very private. The thing in science is that there's an answer somewhere. You might not be able, it might be very difficult to find, but the world works the way it works. If you're wrong, you're just wrong. But in music, I don't think it's like that. There's many different possibilities. You just find one of them. Maybe in 3 weeks my idea will change and I'll say it a different way.